Howdy folks, Nathan Adlin here for another episode of Ask Nathan. Thank you so much for joining me. Not a lot of time because there are tons of questions, so we're just going to jump right into it. Now, I am going to look down a little bit because we have this list that leads all the way up to the camera, so it's not that I'm not paying attention to you, it's just I got this big list. Okay, so let's start right away with the big question from Matt J. Ford or Chevy? Guys, okay. First of all, just so you know, I usually don't choose an entire brand. I just like individual vehicles. However, with that being said, Chevrolet has a lot of vehicles that Ford can't answer to. In other words, they have vehicles that there are no comparisons I can draw with. So, for instance, the Corvette, at least currently, there are no vehicles built by Ford that compete directly with it. The same with the Chevy Colorado. So, just for that reason alone, Chevrolet. On the other hand, Ford builds really good cars, and they have like an all-wheel drive badass Ford Focus RS, and Chevrolet doesn't have anything like that. So it's kind of like choosing between two kids. Maybe you like one kid a little bit more for some reasons, but the other kid has some great redeeming qualities as well. So I can't exactly choose specifically, but in terms of variety, Chevrolet. Okay, all right, next question. From Ryan. He is looking at a 2017 Ford Escape versus a Jeep Cherokee Limited. It's a coin toss between the two, and we're talking about doing some off-roading in this question. So bottom line, if you're going to do any off-roading, stick with Jeep. It's going to save you a lot of time and money in the end because they take into account the fact that occasionally people do go off-road. As such, there's less components that are hanging down, pretty good approach and departure angles, and generally speaking, a better vehicle if you're going to do any type of off-roading. But the Ford Escape is fantastic on the road, and you can't beat the EcoBoost power if that's what you get. So off-road, yeah, Jeep. On-road, Ford, pretty easy there. Okay, next one. Volvo XC90 versus Jeep Grand Cherokee. A lot of Jeep questions this week, and this is from our friend Trevette. Okay, now in this question, he's also considering going off-road. Bottom line, if you're going to go off-road, Grand Cherokee is the way to go, especially if you get the higher-end models with the better off-road systems and off-road tires. Now, the XC90 we've taken into the snow and it did well, but I would not take that vehicle off-road. Just wouldn't recommend it. So there's that. Okay, next one. Sorry, guys. There's so many questions. I'm trying to rush through them. This is from our buddy Aaron. Now, Aaron has heard from his father, his dentist, and friends that Chevrolet builds unreliable vehicles, and he wanted to know if there was any truth to that with the current batch of vehicles that are out there. Now, I can tell you based on not just J.D. Powers, but a lot of other surveys that are out there, that General Motors and vehicles are pretty reliable. They're better than they used to be. One of the things you have to consider is that a lot of vehicles that were looked at with disdain in the past were in the 70s and even the early 80s. Even the later 80s, frankly. And that's because they weren't up to certain standards. We're talking about hand assembly, we're talking about robotic use, we're talking about everything from AutoCAD on down. It wasn't as well featured, put together, planned as it is today. So the vehicles you're driving today in the past 10 years have higher tolerances, are built to a higher standard, and that's across the board. So Chevrolets in general, you asked specifically about Chevrolets, yes, they're building better vehicles today than they used to, and so far, they seem to be pretty damn reliable. So there that is. Now, once again, the stuff that I'm talking about, guys, this all works because it's interactive. So right below a question, a response, your thoughts, even bring up something that you've gone through with perhaps one of the vehicles we're talking about. Okay, let's continue. All right, now this one is from a guy who calls himself the Butter Sword. I'm not making this up. This is, it's a great name. He wants to know about vehicles that are built overseas, specifically the Hyundai Starex, which is, I think, a minivan that's built overseas. It sells very well and it's highly regarded, but it's not sold here. And he wants to know why. By the way, I'm only assuming you're a he. I suppose the Butter Sword could be a she, but anyway. It's very simple. There are a lot of vehicles that are built overseas that don't come here. The main reason why is the automakers, for one reason or another, look at the North American market, specifically the United States, and say, well, this van may not sell well because we have another van that goes directly against it. Or it is very expensive to federalize. Almost done. Now this one comes from Alejandro, and it's regarding the Ford EcoBoost Mustang and whether or not we've driven it. Now yes, Roman has driven one. I've driven one recently, but it was brief and we didn't have a chance to film what I did. Roman had a real brief time behind the wheel of one. And unfortunately, for some unknown reason, Ford will not equip us, the entire Rocky Mountain region, with the EcoBoost Mustang, which is a mistake. And the reason why? Turbocharging, high elevation. That car would move very quickly up here, I'm sure. And as such, it would be great to take it on the track and to, run it around and see what it's like. So unfortunately, no, Alejandro, we have not had an opportunity to drive that up here, but I hope we will soon. Finally, there has been some comments and questions about everything from my health to the temperature of the place I work in. Sorry guys, we're doing this very quickly in between shooting press events and various top fives we've been doing and a whole bunch of other stuff, so it has to be compressed. So sometimes when we bring vehicles in the room, they're still hot under the hood and it's summer outside, so that heat radiates and there is no ventilation in here. So I do apologize for the past when I looked like I was about to pass out. Really, I was okay. And by the way, if anybody's curious about my health, because apparently some of you are, I'm actually doing really, really good. So fat shaming doesn't really work, and don't use this platform to tell everybody about how wonderful you are. Better yet, use this platform to talk about the cars you're interested in. That's what this is all about. So please, right below, send us emails. It's Ask Nathan, but it's also your platform to talk about cars. All right, that's about it. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you later. All right, Randy sent an email to Roman and to TFL Car, and it was sent to me. He tows a 5,500-pound travel trailer, and it has a tongue weight of 720 pounds. And his question is, which pickup truck would be best? He needs to drive the truck every day and occasionally tow, it sounds like. So, Randy, you said that you are looking at the F-150, the Ram 1500, and the Nissan Titan XD. But that's all you gave me in terms of details. So it's difficult to ascertain exactly what type of driving you're doing every day, where you're driving, and if you have a family and you want to stuff them inside the vehicle. The Nissan Titan XD has recently been usurped by the Nissan Titan half-ton.